It is 3 a.m. You are dead asleep, and then, out of nowhere, 11 pounds of cat lands directly on your chest. Not your stomach, not the empty half of the bed. Your chest, right over your heart, like they aimed for it on purpose. You shift, they resettle. You sigh, they start purring like nothing happened. If you own a cat, this is not rare. It is not even unusual. It is one of the most common things cat owners describe, and almost none of them know the real reason behind it. Most people assume it is just comfort, or warmth, or your cat being clingy. What is actually happening is far more specific and far older than your relationship with this particular animal. It traces back to the first few minutes of your cat's life, long before they ever met you, and it explains not just why they climb on you, but why they pick the exact spot they pick, why it happens more at certain hours than others, why it is usually only one person in the house who gets this treatment, and at what point this behavior stops being affection and starts being something you actually need to pay attention to. By the end of this, you will know exactly what your cat is doing every time they climb on you, and exactly what to do about it. Before we get into it, if you want more of this, the real explanations behind the things your cat does that nobody bothers to explain properly, subscribe now. There is a lot more cat behavior breakdown coming, and you do not want to miss it. Reason 1. The heartbeat is the original safety signal. Kittens spend their first weeks of life pressed against their mother, in a tight pile of warmth, scent, and one specific sound repeating constantly in the background, her heartbeat. At that stage, a kitten cannot see well, cannot regulate its own body temperature, and cannot defend itself in any way. Survival depends entirely on staying physically pressed against something that is warm, that smells right, and that has a steady heartbeat. That combination becomes the kitten's very first definition of safety, wired in before they have any other experience to compare it to. When your adult cat climbs onto your chest, they are not choosing the most comfortable surface in the house. They have plenty of better options. Soft beds, heated mats, sunny windowsills. They are choosing the one surface that recreates the exact combination their nervous system was built to seek out before they could even open their eyes. Your warmth, your scent, and your heartbeat. You are not their favorite cushion. You are the closest thing to that original feeling of safety that exists anywhere in their world. Reason 2. The chest specifically is not a coincidence. Cats have an extremely sensitive ability to detect rhythmic vibration and sound through direct body contact, and the chest is the single loudest, steadiest source of both warmth and heartbeat anywhere on a human body. Your stomach moves with breathing, but the rhythm is less consistent. Your arm has warmth, but no heartbeat signal worth tracking. Your chest delivers both at once, clearly and constantly, which is exactly why so many cats aim directly for it instead of settling somewhere else on your body. It is the same reason newborn kittens instinctively burrow toward their mother's chest rather than her legs or tail. The target was never random. It is the one location on you that most closely matches the conditions their body was built to recognize as secure. Reason 3. Nighttime climbing is not random timing either. Cats are crepuscular, meaning their natural activity cycle peaks around dawn and dusk, with a secondary stretch of restlessness often showing up in the middle of the night while you are deeply asleep. At the exact moment your cat's instincts are nudging them toward activity, you are doing the opposite, lying completely still, breathing slowly, your guard fully down. To a cat, a still, relaxed body is the clearest possible signal that the environment is safe enough to approach closely. Daytime you, moving around, talking, doing things, registers as active and slightly less predictable. Nighttime you, motionless and quiet, reads as the safest version of you available. That is why 3 a.m. so often turns into climbing hour. It is not your cat losing their mind in the dark. It is your cat finally getting the still, safe target their nervous system has been waiting for. Reason 4. Distraction makes you a more interesting surface, not a less interesting one. You sit down with your laptop or pick up your phone, and within minutes your cat is walking directly across the keyboard or planting themselves on your chest, blocking your view entirely. Most owners read this as the cat being needy or jealous of a screen. The actual mechanism is simpler. Your attention has shifted away from your cat and onto an object, and that object is now competing for the exact resource your cat depends on you for, which is engagement. Climbing onto you, especially onto whatever you are looking at, is the most efficient way your cat has of overriding that competition. It is not really about the phone or the laptop at all. It is about your attention being somewhere other than on them, and your cat closing that gap the fastest way they know how, by becoming physically impossible to ignore. Reason 5. In a multi-person household, it is rarely random who gets climbed on. Cats track which person in the home consistently lowers their stress levels the most, based on tone of voice, predictability, handling style, and overall energy, accumulated over months of repeated interaction. The person who gets climbed on most is usually the person whose presence the cat's nervous system has flagged as the calmest, safest option available, not necessarily the person who feeds them or plays with them the most. If you are the one who consistently gets used as a landing pad while your partner or roommate gets walked past, that is not your cat playing favorites for no reason. That is the result of an ongoing internal evaluation your cat has been running on every person in the house, and you came out on top. Reason 6. Kneading often shows up alongside climbing, and it comes from the exact same place developmentally. Kittens knead against their mother while nursing to stimulate milk flow, a rhythmic paw motion that becomes deeply associated with comfort, closeness, and feeding all at once. Most cats never fully drop this behavior. When your adult cat climbs onto you and starts kneading your chest, stomach, or thigh, sometimes with claws out, sometimes without, they are running a leftover piece of nursing behavior that never got phased out, because the comfort association attached to it never went away either. It looks slightly strange on a fully grown cat doing it to a human, but underneath it, it is one of the most literal pieces of kittenhood your adult cat still carries around. Reason 7. When you stand up, some cats do not get off. They climb higher instead, ending up on your shoulder or perched along your upper back. This is a slightly different instinct from the chest climb, and it comes from a cat's general preference for elevated vantage points. Height, to a cat, means visibility and control. From up on a shoulder, your cat can see the whole room, monitor every doorway, and still stay in direct physical contact with their safest resource at the same time. It is the combination most cats are chasing constantly: closeness without giving up oversight, and your shoulder happens to be one of the only places in the house that offers both simultaneously while you are upright and moving. Reason 8. Climbing often spikes hard the moment you walk back in the door after being gone for a while, even if it was only a few hours. Separation, even brief separation, registers as a disruption to a cat's sense of a settled, predictable environment. The burst of climbing, headbutting, and following you from room to room afterward is your cat re-establishing contact with their main safety source after a period without it, partly through scent and partly through sheer physical proximity. It tends to fade within the first 20 or 30 minutes once your cat has effectively confirmed that everything is back to normal. If you notice this reunion climbing phase getting longer and more intense over time rather than shorter, that is also worth paying attention to, since it can be an early indicator of separation-related anxiety building up in the background. Reason 9. The purring that often comes with climbing is doing more than just signaling contentment. Purring has been linked to the release of feel-good neurochemicals in cats, and many behaviorists believe it also functions as a self-soothing tool, not only something cats do when happy, but something they actively use to calm themselves down. When your cat climbs on, settles in, and starts purring heavily against your chest, there is a real chance they are not just expressing comfort. They are actively generating it, using your body as the trigger and the purring as the mechanism. The two behaviors, the climbing and the purring, are working together as one combined comfort-seeking system, not two separate things happening to overlap by coincidence. Reason 10. Strangers, loud noises, and unfamiliar chaos send cats looking for you specifically, not just any safe spot. A vacuum cleaner turning on, a thunderstorm rolling through, unfamiliar guests arriving, fireworks outside. All of these tend to trigger a sharp spike in climbing behavior, even in cats who are usually fairly independent. This is the same heartbeat and scent safety system activating under pressure, just with an external trigger doing the pushing instead of a quiet, calm moment doing the inviting. Cats that bolt for you the instant something unfamiliar happens are essentially treating you as a mobile safe room, the one constant, recognizable resource in an environment that just became unpredictable. It is worth noticing which specific triggers send your own cat climbing, because that list is a fairly accurate map of exactly what your cat finds genuinely stressful, even when nothing about their day-to-day behavior suggests it. Reason 11, and this is the part that actually matters most. Climbing on you is normal. Constant climbing, sudden climbing that did not used to happen, or climbing that turns into your cat refusing to leave your body at all, is a different signal entirely. A noticeable increase in clinginess can be one of the clearest behavioral signs that something in your cat's environment has shifted in a way they cannot otherwise communicate. A new pet, a move, a schedule change, construction noise, even rearranged furniture can be enough to push a cat towards seeking constant physical contact as a coping mechanism. It can also show up when a cat is not feeling physically well, since pain and illness frequently increase the drive to stay close to whoever they have identified as their safest resource. The general rule is simple. Affectionate climbing has a rhythm to it, predictable, situational, calm. Anxious climbing looks different. It is constant, harder to settle, often paired with other changes like appetite shifts, excessive vocalizing, or hiding in between climbing episodes. If that second pattern shows up suddenly, that is your cue to look closer, not just enjoy the extra cuddles. So here is exactly what to do with all of this. If your cat climbs on you, and it is the normal, predictable kind, do not push them off abruptly the moment it becomes inconvenient. That teaches your nervous system reading, scent-bonded cat that approaching you sometimes ends in a negative, unpredictable outcome, which can quietly damage trust over time. Instead, give yourself an easy out before you need one. Keep a blanket or cushion nearby that smells like you. And when you genuinely need to get up, transfer your cat onto that instead of just standing up and letting them slide off. It keeps your scent in the equation and softens the disruption. If the climbing happens constantly at moments you cannot accommodate, like work calls or cooking, build a short, scheduled block of lap time into the day instead, 10 or 15 minutes where your cat gets your full physical attention with no distractions. Cats that get a reliable, predictable dose of this tend to demand it far less at random, inconvenient moments, because the need is already being met on a schedule they can count on. It also helps to give your cat alternative ways to get the two things climbing provides, closeness and height, without it always having to be your body specifically. A cat tree or shelf position near where you usually sit lets your cat get elevation and proximity to you at the same time, which can take some of the pressure off you being the only acceptable option in the room. Making sure your cat gets enough active play during the day matters too, since a cat that has burned off real hunting energy through play tends to settle for calmer, less demanding contact afterward instead of using your body as their only outlet. And if you notice the clingy, anxious version showing up, sudden, constant, paired with other behavior changes, do not just wait it out. Look for what changed in the environment recently, and if nothing obvious did, or if it is paired with appetite or litter box changes, get your cat checked by a vet, because that pattern is exactly the kind of thing that can be an early signal of something physical going on underneath it. If the vet rules out a medical cause and the clinginess still persists, that is when it is worth talking to a vet about a referral to a feline behaviorist, rather than assuming it will simply resolve on its own over time. Your cat climbing onto you was never about finding the comfiest spot in the house. It was always about finding the closest thing to the safest moment they ever experienced, recreated over and over, every single time they choose you over every soft surface available to them. That is not a small thing. That is your cat telling you, in the only language they have, that you are the place they feel safest landing. If this changed the way you think about the next time your cat climbs on you, subscribe now, because next we are going deeper into the everyday cat behaviors nobody explains properly, the things your cat does constantly that actually mean something. More cat care, more real explanations every week.